Hi everybody. So today we are going to dive into the mother archetype, which relates to our inner mother, it relates to our biological mother, it relates to how we are tending to our inner child, and it tends to also relate to the mother of all with the earth and also the mother of creation. And so in my journey and in my practice with the clients that I work with, it all comes back to the mother. It all comes back to the qualities of the mother, which to me are nurture and nourishment. If you think back to your earliest memories, or maybe not memories, consciously as a human on this planet, it relates to the mother. It relates to how the mother was nurturing you. It relates to how the mother was nourishing you with her breasts and her breast milk, and how she was tending to you and how she was growing your body in her womb. And so there's so many core elements to our being where our entrance into this world was with nurture and nourishment from the mother. And so the female vessel, the woman that birthed you into this world, whether you have a relationship with her or not, she was and is a vessel between the spirit realm and the material realm. And so as the mother grows and births another human into this world, she is ushering in new energetic life form into a physical body that has been gifted from the Mother Earth, right? Our bodies are extensions of the earth, just like the trees are an extension of the earth, and the animal bodies are an extension of the earth. And so our bodies are a gift from the physical plane, Mother Earth. And our spirit incarnating into this physical vessel is a gift from the mother of all of creation, right? We all come from creation energy first. And then we get to, because we are here talking, be in this physical form, which is a fucking miracle in and of itself, okay? Not every soul, not every energetic form gets to incarnate into a body, okay? So we enter this body through nurture and nourishment from the mother, multiple mothers, from the creation mother, from the earth mother, from our biological mother. So these are very, very important. And so my journey so much the past few years has been about reclaiming that nurture and nourishment towards myself. Because even when our mothers, they're biologically birthing us into the world and they're tending to us in those early years, sometimes when we are actually incarnate in this human form, they're not able to provide that consistent nurture and nourishment that we need. Why? Because all souls have their lessons and things that they're working on in this lifetime, and not every woman is able to nurture and tend to her child and emotional needs and meet every need that this child needs, because they are human too, okay? So we send so much compassion and love to our mothers and our parents who did the absolute best they could with the life experience and with how they were treated by their mother and their father, right? They're doing their best. Okay, perfect. That is on the table. The next part is recognizing that, okay, there were shortcomings. There were places in my childhood where maybe I didn't feel totally emotionally met, or I didn't feel totally emotionally held, because I had big emotions, I had big feelings, and I think and feel really deeply. So sometimes there wasn't an opportunity to be met and received and held in that experience. And that is unfortunate. It's also a truth, and it's also okay, right? And so what I have been moving through and what I help women move through is reclaiming that inner mother within themselves, reclaiming that relationship with your inner child, reclaiming that relationship with your parts, right? Like that nurturing and nourishing yourself is the foundation of everything, because when you are able to hold yourself, when you are able to tend and love to your sensitive parts and hold yourself through the challenging times and encourage yourself through the courageous moments, and to validate yourself. Like, that is when we begin to feel safe in our expression. And when we begin to hold ourselves in love and nurture ourselves, then that is when we can start to express more of our truth, more of our soul that desires to come through. And so without this relationship, this nurturing and nourishing relationship to yourself, your body, your inner child, your psyche, your mind, that sometimes is fucking crazy, the soul then, without all of that, doesn't feel safe to express itself. Like, let's be fucking honest here. Like, expressing your truth and expressing what your soul came here and moving towards your dharma and your purpose and your mission, like, that stuff is big fucking shit, right? That's like almost like phase 2 of the journey, right? Before you can get to phase 2, you have to do phase 1, which is holding yourself, tending yourself, really nourishing your physical body, nourishing and nurturing your emotions, and really bringing ease into your mind and different psyche conditionings and behaviors and patterns that have been learned and passed down through the conditioning of the human lineage that we incarnated into, right? We all have that shit. Some people incarnated into lineages that had a lot of shit, like a lot of trauma, a lot of density, a lot of fucking messed up, weird human stuff, right? And then some people, it was more like subtle, you know, and so, but both can be really profound. And this is where the concept of big T trauma and little t trauma comes in, right? Like, you don't have to just have been abused and sexually assaulted and like psychologically controlled as a child to have trauma, right? Like, even the little things of not having tiny needs met, or not having your emotions validated, or, you know, being told you're too much, or all of those little things can compile psychologically into big things that impact you in the long run, okay? So there's a wide spectrum of experiences that we've had on this planet as humans. And I, like, whoever is watching, speaking to you, like, just like taking a moment to like validate and like see and acknowledge what you've been through. And you are so, so unbelievably strong and so capable of moving through and alchemizing with what the cards you've been given in this life. And just believing in yourself that you are only given what you can handle and what you can transmute and alchemize. Okay, so that's like step 1. And so as we develop this nurturing and nourishing relationship to ourselves, we start to tend to our human, we start to tend to our vessel, we tend to our spirit in a way that is like a mother holding us, and we just get to soften into her breasts or into her soft body and just like to sink and to be. And maybe you've never experienced that in your life, right? Maybe that was never the relationship you had with your mother, so it feels so foreign. But I invite you right now to think about, what would it feel like to just be able to like collapse and soften and just be held and not be told what you need to do, or not be told how to fix something, or not be told that your emotions are too much or your emotions are invalid. Like, if you could just like be in whatever you are experiencing in the arms of the mother, like, how would that feel? Like, even if you haven't experienced, like, that feels really good. Feels really good. And so what I had to recognize is that what I needed emotionally as a child, as a young adult, as an adult, my biological mother was not able to provide that. It just wasn't her thing. It wasn't her skill set, and that is okay, right? And so I was trying to change my mother for years. And we went through a lot of fucking shit and dissonance because I was trying to change her to fit my needs. And it wasn't until I was able to look within and be like, okay, this isn't fucking working. How about I provide it for myself? That everything started to change, and starting to recognize that, of course, there is this inner child aspect of myself that so desperately wants my biological mother, what I see as the mother archetype, to provide me with all of my needs. But that is just not possible because she is human. And so then there's other mothers to lean on. Okay, there's the mother of spirit that loves you so unconditionally. There's the mother of the earth. And then there's also the mother that you can nurture within yourself. Okay, and so what that's looked like for me of how I've been developing that relationship to my inner child is really getting still, really getting softer, and listening to those little pings, listening to those little triggers, listening to those emotions that have been developing within me, and holding them and seeing them and validating them of like, oh my gosh, like that experience is so valid. Yeah, like that was really hard. I so hear you, like you didn't like how that person talked to you. And you validate and you hold yourself and you ask what you need and you touch yourself gently. And that allows for so much emotional space and softening in the body for more of that emotional processing to come forth, right? And so really prior to all of this, you first need to have a relationship with your body. Right? Like my internal journey started because I was faced with a very controlling psychologically eating disorder. I was diagnosed with orthorexia, and orthorexia is just a very controlling, particular way of wanting to eat, and everything has to be perfect so I can be in control. Right? I was super duper healthy and super, super restrictive. And honestly, I still love eating super, super healthy, but it was the mind frame from which I was operating from, right? I was at a point in my life in high school where I was having like a major identity crisis. Like I didn't know who I was without the identity of the athlete that I was. I was injured at the time, so I wasn't able to perform as the runner, as the cross country and track girl that I was, okay? So I was having a major identity crisis my junior year. And so I needed to control in some way, to control my reality, and food was the way that I did that. And so in that time, there was a really skewed relationship to my body that developed. You know, it's like if I was skinny and if I looked good and if I was beautiful, then I was worthy of something, and then I was enough. Right? And so I controlled my food, I controlled my intake, I controlled my workouts, everything to a T so much so that I could feel enough, so I could feel something, right? Something about being noticed, or being the skinny one, or being the one with an 8-pack, right? So that was the beginning of my journey, right? And I went to therapy for many, many, many years and really dove into that. And what it really brought me was the recognition that, wow, this isn't actually about food. This isn't about really caring about how many pieces of lettuce I eat each day, right? It's about feeling enough. It's about feeling home in myself. It's about loving my human and loving my body, and like having a nurturing relationship to myself, having a relationship where I nourish myself on so many levels, nourishing myself on a physical food, water level, nourishing myself on an emotional level, nourishing myself on a mental and spiritual level, right? And so that journey started everything for me. It started a deeper spiritual exploration. It started a deeper exploration of my psyche, and I eventually found psychology when I was in college. And I had never like taken a psychology class, and it was it for me. Like, it's so fascinating how these little tics, these little things that we develop is all rooted to something so much deeper, something that we've learned, or something that we believe, or something that we've been conditioned to program from. And so once we start to get curious of like, okay, why is this showing up? Life gets really fucking interesting. And for me, I still notice those controlling aspects of myself, like it's a very OCD tendency that continues to creep up in different times of my life when things feel out of control. you know, and that is the time when I'm like, okay, like, babe, like, I'm here. You know, we get to show up for ourselves. And when we show up for ourselves, like, then there's like a, okay, let's take a breath. Like, what really wants to be expressed here? What need is not being met? Where am I falling short of taking care of myself and nurturing and nourishing myself? Like, fuck, like, so much can come there when we notice these patterns in ourselves that have been maybe stalking us for years, whether it's anxiety or depression or OCD or like control mechanisms or projection or avoidance, whatever it is. Like, those are just surface level, right? Like, there's something so much deeper going on. And so it all comes back to how we get to tend to ourselves. And so as I've continued to develop this relationship to the inner mother within myself and the planet and my relationship to spirit, my relationship to my biological mother has radically shifted, because I'm not expecting her to give me everything I need, right? Like, I have matured to the point of recognizing, okay, yes, I have needs. Yes, my inner child needs things, and my biological mother can't get them. Okay, so I'm going to tend to those ones by myself when she can't meet those needs. And then there's so much more peace in the relationship, because when we expect everything from one person, whether that's a partner, a friend, a mother, a father, there's so much pressure, and we need to recognize where it is we need to self-source and where we can lean on others. And that's a very, very fine distinction that takes a lot of navigating. And I can say now that after years and years of dissonance, of fighting, of pain with the relationship with my biological mother, we are at a space where there's so much compassion, there's so much peace and understanding and communication that we have worked on for years, how to talk about our needs, how to process things. And that has been the most rewarding thing I have done on this path, of how I have shape-shifted not only myself, but also the relational dynamics in my life, because I have leaned in and gotten really curious about what is showing up here and how I can learn from this and how I can self-source more and lean into relationships more in places where I can be met. And so the overall message is, first, what is your relationship to your mother? What is your relationship to your biological mother? Because if you are a woman watching this right now, I guarantee you there is some stuff there, right? That was the archetype of a woman that was represented to us as a child. Okay, so there's a lot there. So what is the relationship to your mother? Get really real with that. Like, where was your mother able to support you and hold you, and where was she not? Like, where did she fall short? Because she is human. And be honest with yourself, okay? Because most of the time, that is where you are needing more support and more self-sourcing, or more support from another woman in your life who can provide those things, right? Yeah, so what's the relationship to your mother? And then what's your relationship to your body? What's your relationship to your emotions? What's your relationship to your inner child? Like, are you so loving and nurturing and soft? Do you feel like your body opens for you? Do you feel like your body unravels for you and shows you what it's feeling and needing and desiring? Or is it a fucking stone cold wall because your body has learned not to trust you? Your inner child and your emotions have learned not to trust you because there has not been an intentional relationship with those aspects of yourself nurtured over the years, right? Maybe you learned as a child from your guardians that emotions were invalid, emotions were irrelevant, and that there's no space for them. So just no, it's too much, turn it off, right? And if that was the case, I feel you. And that's okay, right? It happened. So what are you going to do from here? How are you going to start breathing more? How are you going to start talking to yourself more lovingly? How are you going to touch yourself with more gentleness? How are you going to validate your experiences? You know how often we fucking gaslight, ladies? Like, what the fuck? No. No. Cancel, clear. We're done with that, right? We get to honor our emotions, because if you're like me, you feel fucking deeply. You feel, and you are a tsunami when you feel. It's big emotions, and it's deep, and it's intense, and you just want to be held. You just want to be seen in it. You just want to be validated in it, right? There's no need to fear those emotions. Those are your superpower. Those are your superpower, and they become your superpower when you learn to love them, to acknowledge them, to celebrate them, to take the space to feel them. So may this video simply encourage you to start thinking about your relationship to the inner mother within yourself, and the inner mother that also sources from the earth as her amazing, divine, OG mother in this human body, right? There's other sources for you, whether that's going and, finding a women's circle in your area, or just being in prayer with spirit more, or just laying in the earth and just curling into fetal position and allowing her to hold you as you listen to the birds chirp and the wind sway between the leaves, right? Like, there's so many ways to access that nurturing energy outside of yourself, as well as how you tend to yourself internally. So you got this. And yeah, to me, it all starts with the mother. It all starts with nurture and nourishment, because that is the primary experience we have before anything else in this human body. So blessings, and have the best.